Okay, now let us look into the advantage of having insurance. Okay, now for example, if I have taken insurance, what is insurance? I have mentioned it's nothing but it's transferring the risk to transferring of risk is what we call as insurance. Now what is the advantage there? If I'm able to do that, the biggest advantage I'm going to get is that it is possible for me to enjoy my life and have a peace of mind. Am I right? See, whenever it comes to if we have insurance, actually it reduces certain things. It reduces the burden of risk from us, because we have a biggest burden of risk. So if we have insurance, it reduces the burden of risk. Now what are the two burdens of risk we have? If we look into that, we have two burdens of risk. One is primary and another is secondary risk. Okay, these are the two one is primary and second one is secondary burden. Now what is primary burden? Primary burden is nothing but which is directly impacting me. Okay, it's direct and it's measurable and it can be compensated. So for example, a meeting with an accident. Okay, there is a damage to my car, so that is a primary risk. Now what is the secondary risk? Secondary is nothing but the strain which I undergo, the stress which I undergo. Okay, see, that is the biggest challenging part, and it cannot be measured and it cannot be compensated. But the biggest thing what I can do is it reduces my burden. For example, we all take insurance for our car. We all insure our car. Why do we insure our car? Because I don't want to take the stress or strain or of that. If something happens to the vehicle, I have to spend the money on that. So if I have an insurance on that, it will be a peace of mind. Similarly, business, insuring your business, insuring your property. So if we are able to do that, it safeguards us from all uncertainties or all risk which happens against that particular property. Okay, so primary is nothing but which is measurable and directly impacting me, okay, and which can be compensated, whereas the other one is cause or strain, or the strain which I feel, and it is challenging. It's a mental strain which and an anxiety which I goes through. That is what we call a secondary. Now if you are able to do that, these two can be taken care of that. Okay, now what I will do is I will take you through the concept of insurance and make you understand what it is all about with the help of a small story. Okay, see, for example, in a village we have 400 houses. You have 400 houses, and each house costs around 20,000 per house. Now out of these 400 houses, every year they lose 4 houses. 4 houses are lost every year due to some calamities. Now remember, this risk is not applicable for only these 4. It is for the all 400 houses. All these 400 houses face this similar risk. So the owners, what happened, they get a loss of 20,000 rupees when they lose the house. So they came together and they decided that what we'll do is we will compensate these guys. Okay, so all 400 came together and they decided we'll give compensation, because if it is today for you, tomorrow it would happen for me also. I am also going to be benefited. So how did they work out the calculation? See, for example, every year 4 houses, that is, so 4 into 20,000, that means the total loss per year is going to be 80,000. So they decided this 80,000 rupees will be divided by all these 400. So it would be 200 per head. So what is the advantage? By spending 200 rupees, I will be able to get a compensation of around 20,000. Okay, this is actually how insurance works for you. The amount which we call is 20,000 is what we call as the sum insured. Okay, it is the sum insured. It's the insured amount is what we call as this 20,000 rupees. So I'm getting my house insured for 20,000, and 200 is nothing but the premium I pay. This is what we call in insurance. Okay. Now assume a situation. Okay, there are 400 houses. Now instead of that, if there were 800 houses, what happens? Okay, instead of 200, okay, the premium would come down to 100. Am I right? Okay, that would come down to 100 per head. Okay, so that is what we call as insurance works in the number of large numbers. It works in the concept of large numbers. Higher the number, the lower the premium. Okay, and similarly, look at the biggest other wonderful thing is it is actually the risk of few is shared by many. Am I right? Because the risk of these four people is being shared by 400 houses. Okay, four houses, the risk of four houses has been shared by 400. That is what we call as few by many. Okay, that is one of the biggest advantage of having insurance. So it's one, it works in the principle of large numbers, number one thing, and the second thing, it is few by many. Okay, now the other thing is, now out of 404, so can we take it as out of 800 can be 8 houses? Okay, can we know that? No, it can be 8, or even can be 10, or it also can be 6 also. So this is what we call as insurance runs on the other major thing with because probability. Okay, there is a probability that it can be 8, and also it can be a problem. Okay, so that the probability can be higher, and also the probability can be lower also can be there. Okay, so insurance number one works on large numbers, and it is actually the loss of few is shared by many. It is few by many. You have to look at this word in your answer sheets. Few by many. It works on the principle of probability. And remember, it's not equitable distribution. Insurance doesn't work on equitable distribution. It's on proportional contribution. Okay, it is based on proportional contribution. See, for example, here the entire house's value is 20,000. In case suppose you have one of the guy is having a house which is value of 40,000. Now, what will happen? Okay, he has to pay the proportional premium has to be paid. He has to pay a little bit higher because we cannot accept the same 200 for him. So proportionally it will go higher, and also the benefit also is going to be proportionally. So higher you pay, proportionally you are going to get. Okay, assume, see for example, out of this 400, now one person is having two houses. Okay, one person is having two houses. So two houses means his total loss is going to be 40,000. Am I right? So when it comes to contribution, he has to contribute instead of 200 per head, he has to contribute 400. So it's proportionally he is going to be benefited also, and premium will also be higher and will be there. Okay, so this is one thing. And number two, now you assume these 400 houses are in a village which is on a land, so it's on a safer side. Now there is another village which is close by where there are around another 400 houses. I assume there are 400 houses there, and they are in a seashore. Okay, now they also want to get this house insured. Now will we accept them in our group? Will we permit him? We will not permit him. Why? Because his risk is high. Because since these houses are in seashore, the possibility of getting damage is very high. Risk is high. So that what can we do? Okay, there is only another possibility. The other possibility is instead of 200, okay, instead of 200, we will ask him, okay, guys, I will accept that, but you have to give me a higher premium. You guys have to pay me at least 300. Why? Because the risk is higher. Okay, that is one thing. And the biggest challenge is we cannot include them in our group. Why? Because this particular group has a separate risk factor. So what we do, we will put them into a separate group. Okay, that is what we call as pooling of risk. See, what happens in insurance is similar risk. Okay, people of similar risk will be put into a common pool. I'll give a small situation. Car. Let us take a car and an aeroplane. Okay. Now let us look at the nature of this group. Car. If we look at the cost of the car, it is very low. The loss is going to be low. But if we look at the number of accidents happening, that is the frequency. The number of accidents happening is high. Whereas in this car, when it comes to aeroplane, the number of accident is very low. Whereas the impact is very high. See, both are vehicles. Okay, both have same risk, similar risk. But when they get exposed to the risk, it becomes different. So we cannot insure a car along with the aeroplane because their risk category is different. So they are put into different pools. So this is what we call as pooling of risk. Okay, so depending on the category of risk and where they come from, we put the people into different pools. Now when it comes to insurance, you might be seeing certain, you will get a little bit confused with certain terminologies, which is we call as sum insured. Okay, sum insured, and we call as sum assured. These are the two terminologies you can see across in different situations. Let me go through your questions. Now what is the difference? Insured is nothing but it provides protection against an event that might happen. Okay, this gives a protection against a risk which that might happen, whereas here it is against a risk that will happen. Okay, so this is morely related to insurance in the sense, as I mentioned before, it is non-life insurance. Okay, and this is mostly related to life insurance. We normally use the word sum assured because why? The risk which we talk about here, okay, will happen is nothing but death. So this is assured, only time is uncertain. Whereas here when we come vehicle or car, when you insure, it's against a fire or theft or accident, and that might happen or might not happen. Okay, so this is the biggest difference. So sum insured is the word which is normally used in insurance, and assured is the word which is terminology which is used with life insurance because of the category, the possibility of risk that happens. Okay, now we were talking about economic value of an asset. Now when it comes to economic value of an asset, okay, let us talk about the economic value of an asset. When we talk about asset, every asset has an economic value. Now let us come to life, human life. Now can we put a value for a human life? It's not possible. Okay, it's not measurable, but still we have to provide some value because for insuring any asset we have to some economic value. So when it comes to human life, on what basis do we measure this economic value? Is nothing but it is based on the income. Okay, it does not takes into consideration his assets which he has created, his savings, his investments. No. Okay, it's property. No, it's only the income. Why? Because what stops if death happens? Okay, only the income stops. So human life value is the economic value, and it is related to the income which he produces. And this concept was invented by a person called as Hugh Banner. Okay, he was the inventor of this concept called as human. And there is one more situation where they ask you is customer lifetime value. Okay, this is what we call as this is called as human life value. This is called as human life value, and human life value is related to income. Okay, his income, what he produces. And the second thing which they talk about is customer lifetime value. So the wordings itself is clear. Customer lifetime value is still death. Okay, so it's nothing, the sum of economic benefits that can be achieved by building a long-term relationship with the customer. Okay, that is achieved by with the long-term relationship. It's based on the long-term relationship, and human life values income. Okay, it's based on relationship. Okay, it's nothing but the amount of money he invests, so that everything will be taken into consideration. That is how this is taken into uh, calculation. So this is human life value and this is customer lifetime value.